to The Stir, conversations with people who inspire, fascinate, and bring us joy. Today's guest means so many things to so many people and so many organizations around town. She's a community volunteer. She's a patron of the arts. She's a philanthropist. She is a St. Louis original. She is a St. Louis institution. And to those of us lucky enough to have seen her on stage, she is one marvelous entertainer. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Nancy Kranzberg. Hello, Nancy.
Hey, I'm eating it up.
And I forgot to say, that's not even the half of it. So just hang on to your seats. How are you doing today?
I'm a little foggy and whatever, and I've had that gook thing, but I'm fine.
Great. A lot of people know you as, this superwoman. You're the Kranzberg whose name is on the building. You and Ken have built an empire in Grand Center. And it is so palpable, your love for the arts.
We do love the arts, and we're very proud. We're very proud. We think St. Louis is the most culturally rich city per capita. We're not New York, but we're close to Chicago in some arts ways.
Yes.
We love our town.
Well, so people have their light bulb moments, so their so-called aha moments. For you, at what point did you realize the importance of having the arts in people's lives in the community, and particularly art that is free and accessible to all?
Well, a lot of it has been luck. I mean, somebody actually came to us and said, hey, we have some space down in Grand Center. You want to use it we know you're involved in the arts. I'm lucky.
For you personally, I mean, when did you discover your love for the arts?
Oh, way back when. I always sang. I was in school choirs. One of my biggest heartbreaks was when I didn't get the lead in Call Me Madam.
Oh, no.
But I was the understudy.
You got over it pretty quickly,
I got over it. So I always sang. I sang in the Washington U Choir. I've actually sung in Carnegie Hall with the Washington U Civic Choir. Let's see. So that's the music. I went on a docent tour at the Art Museum, and I went up to the docent and I said, how do I become a docent? And she kind of looked at me like, well, who the heck are you? I made up my mind I was going to become a docent. I got involved in the visual arts. I did a little bit of acting, as I said, with the musicals in high school. I don't know. I always loved plays. I'm not really into just one discipline. Mm-hmm. I love it all. I'm a sort of a glutton. Take a look at Mama.
You are too funny, and you are always very surprising, because it seems like every time I run into you, there's another thing that I didn't know about Nancy Kranzberg. Wow. And this thing about being a docent at the Art Museum is something new to me. How long were you doing that?
Long, like 30 years, until literally I was a hiker. You probably didn't know that. I've actually hiked the Himalayas, not scaled, but hiked, and I had 3 total knee replacements, and so I had to give up being a docent, because it's a lot of walking around a very big space. Yes. But I loved it. And talk about a free, the St. Louis Art Museum.
Well, it's one of our treasures.
Right, and it's free and open to the public, and open for everyone.
So being familiar with the Art Museum, what is the most interesting thing about the St. Louis Art Museum's collection to you? What have you found in those years that you've been there and familiar with it? Well,
actually, I like contemporary everything in all the arts disciplines, which I didn't set out to say, hey, I like contemporary things. I just do. But I love it all. I do. And, the curators are so wonderful, and the docents talk about free. We got free training. Yes. It was wonderful.
Yes. So another thing that I fairly recently found out about you started out as a second grade teacher.
I did.
Where did that teaching, affinity for teaching come from?
Well, in my day, and don't forget Mama is a little old, and Jewish, with the Jewish mother.
Yes.
What do you want to be a school teacher? Go be a secretary for some lawyer. Marry a doctor or a lawyer. I didn't know a bottle salesman could do as well as he did. But so I taught school, like like everybody else was doing in the day.
Yes.
But I do want to throw in, I have one student from second grade who the parents just said, if you have any problem, I taught in the Rittner School District, just get a twig or what do you call it, a branch, and give her a little swat in the butt.
Oh, her.
A
little girl. Okay.
She went on, and they had no use for education, to become number 2 at
wow.
Express Scripts.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and she thanks me
Oh.
for being her teacher. And I would get up and preach, you can do it, anybody can do it. I did it. And she made quite the career.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That's a great
I
feeling
still
to
hear
be.
from her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit to present time, and you and your husband had established the Kranzberg Arts Foundation. I think it's been around for more than 10 years now, right?
Oh, I think more like 8 or 9.
Oh, okay.
Almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about the foundation in terms of what the end goal you hope for it to be.
Well, I don't think, we really want to provide accessible arts to St. Louis, to anybody who's around St. Louis. We started with the Kranzberg, the
Yes.
actual Kranzberg. And Vince Shamel at the time, who was the president of Grand Center, came to us and he said, Big Brothers and Big Sisters are opening a new building, actually. They don't have quite enough money to use the whole space. And we had been talking about our art collection, which we collect mostly local arts. There was a space. We were going to put like part of our art collection in it. And I don't even know. I asked Ken last night. We don't remember exactly how Upstream Theater was the first group to perform at the Kranzberg. There is a 100-seat theater at the Kranzberg.
Yes.
Then there's a smaller cabaret theater. Then there's the gallery in the front half of the building.
Yes.
And where we have all kinds of socially relevant art shows.
You do, yes.
Really wonderful shows, yeah. Mm-hmm. And have had some national attention. And thank you, Diana Hansen, who is Chris Hansen, the director of the Kranzberg Arts Foundation's aunt.
We've worked with Chris a lot.
Yeah,
yes.
Oh, he's wonderful.
Yes. So from the Kranzberg, okay, so you said you couldn't remember the list. I have the list.
Oh.
All right, so I have the Big Top, the Dark Room,
Oh, yeah.
the Grandel,
Yeah.
the Marcel, the Zach, Sophie, the High Low. These are your buildings.
Oh, yeah.
All under the Kranzberg Arts Foundation umbrella.
Right.
And for those of you who are not familiar with what we're talking about here, this is within the Grand Center Arts District in South St. Louis. And my goodness, Nancy, the names on the buildings, the Sophie and the Zach, these are your grandchildren,
Our
correct?
grandchildren.
How many grandchildren do you have total?
4.
Okay.
And
so pretty soon we're going to be running out of grandchildren to name the buildings.
Well, we have the Hilo, our new literary center.
I want to ask you about that because I'm very intrigued by that. First of all, the name is so cool. Mm-hmm. But tell me a little bit about what this concept is.
Well, the concept is we are free and one for all and all for one. James Baldwin had a room for writers. Some had won jillions of awards and were highly educated, and others were just regular people like you or I that wanted to write. Sure. And they all wrote together in this big room in their own little cubicles. And there's a great big writing and reading room at the Hilo. A Blueprint Coffee sells coffee.
Yummy coffee.
Oh, right.
Yummy local coffee.
Local coffee. And I'm not an expert at all, but all kinds of highfalutin, talk about highfalutin that I don't know the difference is what I'm really saying, but it's great. It tastes great.
Right.
And
the space itself looks so cool.
Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just was an old building filled with a lot of junk. Mm-hmm. And it's a miracle what it looks like now. But the best thing about the High-Low is groups such as River Styx, which is a writers and poetry. I think of it as a reading.
Yes.
But it's not only, they do other things too. And St. Louis Poetry Society, I don't know if I'm getting the name out right. They talked, they were okay. But now their offices are right next to one another. And Carrie Hawk of the
She's with the Tennessee Festival,
Williams the festival is right next to them. And then we have Sue Greenberg, the head of St. Louis Lawyers and Accountants for the Arts. All their offices are right together upstairs. And then the late Shirley LaFleur, bless her heart, an African-American writer and poet. Oh, you should have seen her kids. We have a room dedicated to her. And then Rob Connolly of Bulrush next door is providing eats.
Oh, he's providing the food.
Yeah,
Oh, so we know it's going to be something good.
And really good, really good. And there's an art gallery. I can't get it out fast enough. I mean, or straight enough. But it's so exciting. There's so much going on. I can't keep it all straight.
Which is fine. That's why you have all these great, competent individuals to take care of things for you. Because it seems to me that you and Ken, the husband, Mr. Kranzberg, you're the vision people.
We are.
And you oversee all these great things that are going on right now and really has contributed to making the Grand Center Arts District so dynamic. You know, I mean, we are there maybe once a month, even a little bit more than that. And we really have noticed the evolution of it just from 5 years ago even.
Oh, it's unbelievable. As a matter of fact, sometimes, people think I'm so nice, and I'm pretty nice, but I don't forget certain things. And I remember a fairly close friend's husband. We're driving, and this is only 5 years ago. We're driving into Grand Center, and there's nothing going on down here. And I just had a little hissy fit in the car, and I had to apologize, but you know what? I've never forgotten that. And they came down to the Literary Center, and it just blew their his socks off. And
that was the goal, to blow his socks off.
That's all I care. That's all I care about is blowing them. But
you showed him, huh?
I showed him, right? But anyway, there's jazz at the dark room.
Oh, yes, we've been to the dark room recently.
Every
yes,
night.
It's a wonderful venue, and then you have the Grandel just, next door to it. So it's a great. I'm loving that you're creating these districts within the district that you could pretty much stay in one venue, enjoy drinks, have dinner, and then go into the theater. I just love it. I just love how that all kind of flows together, and now you have this new thing with the high-low that just sounds cool, and I just can't wait to experience it.
It's great.
So I know that you love travel, and we've talked about it some, and you were talking about your days of hiking. And so I just always remember this story from you about you were off somewhere. You're going to have to refresh my memory where it was, but you met someone a lot of us know. Lil John.
I did.
I did. Lil.
Yes. Well, actually, my daughter Marianne and I, it's so complicated, but we wound up in Tahiti. We went to the concierge, and we said, everyone's a honeymoon couple here. What do a mother and daughter do? And he said, well, there is a sunset cruise with cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, and there's only one other couple, if you don't mind.
All right.
So we get on the boat, and there's this couple kind of hovering in the background. And I said, hey, aren't you guys going to come up and have cocktails and hors d'oeuvres? And I'm not mocking. This is how the person really talks. Well, we'll be up there in a while. And right. And we go, and
go for it.
We go up, Marianne and I, and we down our cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, and all of a sudden, this darling African-American couple comes up, and he looks at me and he says, you don't know who I am, do you? And now I'm going to go back to a regular. And I said, no, and Marianne didn't know, and he said, I'm a Lil John. He said, Google me now. And the man is like a world famous rapper,
right?
Brilliant genius who writes for Usher. Yeah. I could go on and on. He and the wife are the cutest people.
What'd you talk about?
We talked about their son, and they had actually just gotten married and made it legal. And they were just darling, and we went swimming with the dolphins, and we went and bought a black pearl. And Lil John said, I never spent so much money in my life. And I said, I don't think I can do it. And then I called Ken from Tahiti, and I said, can I buy a black pearl? He said, oh, do whatever the heck.
Black pearl from Tahiti is a once in a lifetime thing.
Yeah.
If you can get a black pearl from Tahiti, go for it.
I know, but they really were all priceless. But they were just darling. And actually, Little John told me that his music would not be appropriate for my grandkids, and that
probably not.
No, but he's good. He's good. I mean, he's really a brilliant genius.
I just thought that was just hilarious that you would end up on a cruise with Little John.
I know. Oh, Little John told us, he said, it's such a pleasure to be with people who really don't know me and how famous I actually am. I said, well, if you take your grill off and if you buy some cheap pants at Sears or Penny's and pull them up like an old man, I don't think people will know you. And take your shades off, people won't know who you are. And we talked about fame and what it's like and how, and he liked it. It depended on his mood of the day.
Okay.
Like, hey, I'm John. I'm Little John, And some days he wanted to say, get the heck away from me. I'm tired. I don't want to be bugged. It was just very interesting.
And I'm really thinking, I am sure he appreciated that conversation, that realness.
Well, Vicky, his wife, and I wrote for years.
Oh, wow.
And it eventually petered off, and
yes,
he had very mixed emotions about some of the lyrics in his songs, but he said, but I'm making lots of money.
I'm sure he is. Yes, enough to be able to afford a private cruise with you.
Oh.
Wow, that's wonderful. One question though, I was so curious. Did he ever take his glasses off? Because I have never seen him without his glasses off.
He took his glasses.
Okay.
He took his hat off.
Okay.
Yeah, he had the dreads hanging out of the hat.
Uh-huh.
He's cute. That's what I said. I said, you are so cute. I said, I didn't even think of you as cute. I couldn't get past all the
persona.
Stuff, the persona.
Yes. Okay, well, I was just so fascinated by that story, and I thought, I need to ask her about that again because that was just a fun story to listen to. Well, with that, you had this little heart-to-heart with this mega superstar.
Yeah.
I do remember one of the interviews that somebody had of you. In fact, I think it was one of our writers, Diane Klein, with Gazelle Magazine. And you were talking about how you seem to have this great understanding of the human spirit. Can you explain that a little bit and what fascinates you about the human spirit? I mean, you can connect to somebody like a Little John and have a heart-to-heart talk with him.
Well, I think we're all human, and we all have, and that reminds me of the Kranzberg Arts Foundation.
Yes.
I mean, oh my God. I mean, I'm veering off again.
That's
but
fine.
At the soft opening of the High-Low, I asked my friend and brilliant poet, Jessica Barron. I mean, she's won national awards. Matter of fact, I took a trip with her to Portland, and she's years younger, and she introduced me to all the hip hop and hipsters. But I said, get me some young poets to read. And I mean, I was so proud because first of all, Jessica did a reading, and it addressed Native Americans partially. And oh my, it was so wonderful and done in this just beautiful, poetic way. The next reader was an African-American ex-football player who was so gorgeous. Oh, my God. And he talked about very upsetting and angry subjects, but he also presented in just a beautiful way that, it just, you sat up and listened. There's a great Yiddish word. He was a real mensch. And then the last reader introduced himself as Vietnamese and trans. And he came out in a bathrobe and a negligee and high heels and poured his gut out, what his life had been like. His mother didn't even speak English. The father left when they got to America. And he was just the most beautiful person. And I found myself at the end of his reading and at the end of the program just gravitating towards him and hugging him and loving him and just saying, hey, it doesn't matter who you identify with. I identify with you. You're just a beautiful person, and I love you, and you've got everybody in this room loving you. So that's the human spirit, and that's how, those poets got us all to connect and to think about, why are we here? What's it all about, Alfie? That was a big story. And
That's a great story.
Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned that quote about how people love you and you have everyone in this room loving you.
Yeah.
That's you, Nancy Kranzberg.
No.
I know you're going to do that. But seriously, that is how people in this town feel about you.
Well.
And that story about the high-low and, just bringing together people of all different backgrounds together and just having a forum for that kind of exchange is something that I think is something that is much needed in this city.
Thank you. I looked out in that audience and I felt really great pride. I mean, that fortunately Ken has done well enough to be able to do these things.
How long have you and Ken been married?
Coming up on 51.
My goodness. So this year was a 50-year anniversary?
Uh-huh. Well, let's see. Wait, no, last year. 50. Yeah.
When were you married, Nancy?
End of 1968. So
okay, got it. So 51, yeah.
That's right. I must say, and I was thank you, Chris Hansen, if you're listening and looking.
We'll make sure that Chris is listening
Chris,
and
you
looking.
better. No, because Chris said, I wanted to get this one really right because this was Nancy's baby. And, we have, the Zach has, I think, 20 in-house theaters that perform their, talk about high-low. I mean,
right.
From the new guys in town to groups that have been around for a long time and are tried and true. Watching a play at the Zach.
Uh-huh.
And by the way, people ask me, what is with the dot? We had the Marcel and we had Sophie's and Zach said, and what about your grandson? It's all about girls here.
Yes.
And I better get also on the roof of the Zach is Sally's Rooftop Garden, and we grow 5,000 pounds, and I can't think of the name of the organization that does it, of produce that David Kirkland, who has Turn restaurant.
One of my favorite breakfast spots.
Very
yes,
good.
Yes.
And the rest goes to charity and is used.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. And so that's Sally. That's the baby.
All right. Well, thank you so much to our guest, Nancy Kranzberg. This has been another edition of The Stir. Join us for our next podcast every second Thursday.